Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We've got 4 great decks for you, including a review of General Thunderbolt Ross and so much more. We're also going to do a gameplay game in this video, which is a rarity for this channel. But there is such a cool play with this deck that you're looking at right now that you absolutely must see it. This is Splats Infinite Genius, as in Infinite Genius, because this is an absolutely genius deck. This has so many plays in it, it's utterly absurd. Did you know, for example, that if you Aranya off a brood, that sitting there in a separate lane, the main brood will be sitting in a separate lane as a 3/3, but then you can symbiote Spider-Man it and you have a 30 power lane. Did you know that with just 2 moves, Galacta with either Iron Fist and Ghost Spider or Aranya and Ghost Spider, whatever combination, is 20 power. And you can do that for free with Black Swan as you play an Infinite on the same turn. There are so many plays like that with this list. It's absolutely incredible. Splat plays a bunch of crazy decks, and sometimes he just hits gold. This, my friends, is gold. You can find Splat at twitch.tv/Splaticus. Please do go check him out. He's wonderful. This deck needs Aranya, Ghost Spider, Galactus, Galacta, and Black Swan. I know, I'm really sorry. War Machine and Infinite are an insane combo, but they can be Hope and Surfer, or Black Panther and Sola, and you'll be okay with this list. The power of Infinite is that you can use your Galacta buff elsewhere, and then still get the Infinite power out there. That's why we're running War Machine for that. It's still 20 power, whereas you really do want that Galacta buff on Black Panther, which means it can't go on Human Torch, it can't go on Brood, and so on, which is, a different type of problem. But so hopefully you have War Machine Infinite. If not, oh well. All right, crazy, crazy ways to win. So turn 1, you want Aranya. Turn 2, you want Black Swan. Turn 3, your goal is to play Magic, if possible. Turn 4, Galacta over War Machine over Symbiote. Getting Galacta down is key, much like it was for that deck I had Infinite with last week. Turn 5 is the same as 4, but sometimes you're going to play Symbiote over War Machine if you're aiming for a Galactus combo. If there's 7 turns, you can now still drop Magic and Swan. This is your last chance for Magic and Swan in a 7-turn game. And then whether it be turn 6 or 7, you can either win with a big Galactus. A Galacta into Symbiote into Galactus is still a really big lane that wins a lot of the time. A Brood into Aranya and push Brood into another lane to Symbiote it is another play that you can make. And then you can Galacta Torch, and then you can move it twice and play Infinite at the same time. Those are your 3 main play patterns. There's some other smaller ones, but those are the 3 main ones you're going to do. We're going to watch a quick game of Marvel Snap, then I'm going to explain from our friend Racco playing against Splat and see what this deck does. Next up, we're going to look at a Day 1 Thunderbolt Ross deck and a review of the spotlights, but first we've got to watch this game of Snap. So we can see Racco playing this nice simple list. We're actually going to make it a little faster. Let's go to playback speed 1.5 so we can keep it moving. But yeah, so Racco is playing a nice simple, almost like one of the current Chamo decks. They're sort of Sarah decks without Sarah. We went over them in yesterday's video. Very strong stuff. This one's running Makari as a way to get extra cards out, as a way to get extra power. We have a competition for the Abbey as there's attempted draw happening. Zabu comes out with Aranya. We skip ahead a little bit. Now we have Thena, and we're going to see Thena come down as it tries to gain power into Magic, and now it's a 7-turn game. Racco realizing he doesn't have anything to stop that. Remember, the deck we're looking at is the top deck, and that is our featured deck for this video. We can now start double playing. You look for Iron Patriot in order to get an answer for whatever the hell the opponent's trying to do, and get a Heimdall. And then Galacta comes down. And remember, Galacta is absolutely the pivotal card in this list, one of the strongest things to do. Racco almost makes a mistake here, deciding to play Enchantress on nothing, realizing that that doesn't make much sense, and that instead you have Gwenpool to play with Kitty Pryde and get extra power. This is an insanely good draw for Racco, but and please note that Splat is doing very little at this exact moment. Splat plays a big symbiote Spider-Man, and right now any good player is going, okay, we're looking at a Galactus. This is, you have to be able to beat that 10 power symbiote Spider-Man plus a 9 power Galactus. You have to beat 19 power mid. You have plenty of ways to do that as necessary, especially with Juggernaut in hand. So now we've got Rock and Groot, which will fill a lane and take that, will fill a lane, but still the opponents are fairly likely to play there. And then Kitty Pryde as we trigger Thena. Ready? Lots of sequencing stuff from Splat happening. And remember, 19 in the mid is our goal. We're at 18 now, but if that Galactus is played, we'll be at 20, they'll be at 19, which will solve that problem. A War Machine comes down, and now the deck gets a little confusing, right? You're like, why the hell is a War Machine out? And then we enter the final turn 7 in this case. And Racco now feels like he has 8 million plays. That makes sense. So we're going to go Galacta. We drop a Heimdall, I believe, and a Juggernaut. Oh, Heimdall and a Kitty. So we're well above the power we need in the center lane that way. And now we're still above the power we need in the center. And we have a good chance at winning right, or at least stalling out right and stopping the Baxter building buff from coming into play. 22 power center is enough to stop the Spider-Man. And now watch this. This is why I decided to show this, the rare gameplay. Heimdall pushes some stuff over. Plenty of power mid, but no plays mid, right? So mid feels like it's one. Nope. Human Torch into Ghost Spider. That is a free immediate 10 power, right? Brood goes mid. 43 power. That's what this deck does. That's why we're showing this. You need to give this deck a try. It's utterly insane. Please, please, please play Splats Infinite Genius. This is a brilliant list. I know it's reasonably high on high series stuff, but it is a deck that you very much want to play in Marvel Snap. Now, before we go forward, we can hit that sub button, like and comment. We bring you exclusive decks, the best decks, the coolest decks in Marvel Snap before anyone else has any idea they even exist. Hit that sub button to never miss out. You don't even have to leave this tab. The bottom right of the screen, you'll see a little YouTube button. You press that, and all of a sudden you're subscribed. So please do hit that sub, like and commenting help the channel as well. In addition, we're giving away a season pass this week. All you have to do is sub and like. Then later this video, I'm going to ask a question. You answer that question, all of a sudden you're entered to win a season pass. Nice and simple. You do that every day, you increase your chances. That's it. At the end of the week, we will announce a season pass winner for Sam Wilson, Captain America. Finally, we're at our new card. Coming out later today, or depending on when you're watching, having come out today, is Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, a 2/2, Series 5, 6,000 tokens. When your opponent ends a turn with unspent energy, draw a card with 10 or more power. This card, everyone is saying, goes in Surtur decks. I'm less sure the more I've thought of it that Surtur decks actually want this. Surtur decks have 2-drops that they want to play and 1-drops that they want to play, which means I'm not sure that they actually have the turn or the space to really fit Thaddeus Ross in. Thus, I expect this card to be a disappointment for many. I don't think that is necessarily going to end up the main home for this card. I think we're going to be able to find other homes. Now, people are saying that the opponent's never going to miss energy. Anyone who's played Wiccan understands how unlikely it is that the opponent hits a perfect curve every single turn, right? We know that Wiccan doesn't go off every game. We know that the perfect curve doesn't happen. Of course, you're not going to see Thunderbolt Ross every game early, and he's fairly useless late, but when you see him drawing a 10 power card, it's extremely strong. So my logic is, what deck really wants to thin itself out, getting 10 power cards into hand from out of deck, and thus being more likely to draw something key? And I came up with the idea of Hela. So the deck we're going to look at, my day one list, is Hela, and we've been reasonably hot. Our day one Iron Patriot? No, that's the wrong card. Our day one Sam Wilson deck and our day one Ares list ended up top win rate decks for the card. Let's see if we can do it again with Thunderbolt Ross. But first, let's take a quick look at the spotlights releasing with Thunderbolt. I'm debating opening for this Thunderbolt Ross. I think it's really cool. There is a really, really cool Rion Chibi that comes out tomorrow, so I'm undetermined, but I'm debating it. Blink is a card that's really, really good for Hela, and it finds its way into a decent amount of decks. It's a card that you should consider getting, and it's probably the best thing you can get in a Spotlight this month, but this is a weak Spotlight month, and Blink is a, 6 or 7 out of 10 card, so it's not something you must go out of your way to get. Nebula, meanwhile, it was announced earlier today, is dropping to Series 3 in March when the biggest series drops ever happen. Apparently that's coming March 4th or March 6th, whatever the first Tuesday of March is. And that's when the series drops are going to happen. That's when Nebula series drops. So don't go out of your way to get Nebula under any circumstances, even if this variant is great, because you can get it for free in about 3 weeks. Ross is a very, how do I put this? Ross is a very niche card. He might be great, but if he's great, he's only great in a couple decks. And Blink is a good card, but only in a couple decks. So that's really important. Here's what I urge you to do. Even if you need all three of these cards, on tomorrow's video, I'm going to stream later tonight. I'm going to test out every Thunderbolt Ross deck. Tomorrow's video, I'll give you my immediate impressions and the best deck I found on day one. After that, I will then on Thursday give you a bunch of top player impressions, usually 10 to 15 top players telling me what they think of the new card, and I report that back to you. I compare that with stats on Friday, and on Friday's video, I make sure that I give you a weekend review. Here's what this card is looking like going into weekend missions. And then either Sunday or Monday, there is a last chance review. In that video, I give you your very last look at Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross and how good or bad that card is / what you should do with it. So we have a lot of reviews of this card. We make sure we're extremely thorough. We understand that in this game, resources are fairly limited. And with those resources fairly limited, we want you to use them correctly. So don't get this card right away. Let me get this card right away. I'm a content creator, I have to get every card. So when I get this card right away, after that, you can take a look and then see how good it is without having to spend resources for it. The deck I'm going to start with, the very first deck I'm going to begin my stream with tonight, is Generals Go to Hela. So this is so I created a Hela list right after the update to Hela that still has like a reasonably high mid 50s win rate at top 50% infinite. It's just a good list. So that list I decided to mess around with and try and make into a general Thunderbolt Ross list. I also felt like I had to cut Gore for the list. I'm not sure if you in your meta what it's like, but in my meta I'm seeing a lot of different ongoing stuff and a lot of stuff that's like the discard stuff that runs a couple of on reveal cards, but not that many on reveal cards. And if we're not seeing that many on reveal cards, I don't know if Gore is worth it. So I cut Gore also because Gore can't be drawn by Thunderbolt Ross, while Infinite, Death, and Arrow can be. So that was my logic here, and so can Black Hat. So that was my logic here. If I can draw any of those, I'm more likely to see Hela, right? That's my entire logic here. I want to play extra cards to see Hela. Now, the big change I made in this list from where I was before is I added Arrow for Blink. The logic here being simply that Arrow is a 10 for Thunderbolt Ross, and Blink is not a card you really want to hit with Swordmaster, while Arrow is a card you're perfectly happy to hit with Swordmaster. So that's where this list is. You can find me streaming around hopefully 7 p.m. Eastern, if not 8 p.m. Eastern, in that general area at twitch.tv/pulseglazer. You might notice that this deck has no high series cards except Thunderbolt Ross, which is pretty damn cool, I think. Ross can be Blink or Mobius if you want to. That should be Morbius, I believe. Morbin time, not Mobin time. Damn silly and similar names. Here's another version. This was the original version, and I explained most of the changes. Remember that I cut Gore and Silver Samurai because I just don't think there's enough on reveals all around the meta to really make Gore worth it. I cut Blink because I'm using Thunderbolt Ross fundamentally to draw into Hela more consistently, while I should be able to have a better time discarding Swordmaster with Blink. If you do happen to get Blink and Thunderbolt Ross, feel free to keep Blink in and play it as well, and you'll be totally fine. Hopefully that makes sense for everybody. Silver Samurai, Gore, and Blink are the changes here from my original like day one of the Hela update. Hela list, again, this list still has really high stats, and I urge you to give these decks a try. All right, so basically our goal here is to all but guarantee Hela by using Thunderbolt, Ross, and Jubilee. Turn 1, you want Blade if Infinite. Turn 2, Ross. Turn 3, Sif if Death or Infinite. Swordmaster if Arrow or Iron Man. Jubilee if Hela is in hand. And safe. That should be safe. If Hela's in hand and safe, you want to play Jubilee. If not, you're going to drop Hellcow. Turn 5 is a 5, or you can do a turn 4 play if you prefer. You'll be fine. And then turn 6, Hela or Jubilee. Hopefully you discarded 3 or 4 things, and then you win the game. Cool. This is it. We're going to look at that pre-release Sam Wilson deck that's doing so well at Infinite momentarily, but once more, this list is super strong and really cool. I have no doubt that this is going to be a good home for Thunderbolt Ross. The question is going to be, is this worth it? Is this enough of an upgrade over the version I showed you earlier? And we're going to try and find that out together later today. This is where you can check me out on Twitch, and if you want to enter to win the season pass, that's not supposed to say favorite weather. It's supposed to say, what are your impressions of Thunderbolt Ross? Do you think that this is a card that's going to be worth getting, or do you think this is going to be a dud? Cool. Next up, we have Captain Latveria. This is the deck I created the day Spectrum was buffed. More or less, it's like 2 cards different from the original version of the list, and this is right now the highest win rate deck in top 10% Infinite at 100 games, which I think is pretty cool. So we hit with this list as well, and I promised I would on Twitter I would cover this today. Snapchatcast on Twitter, so I decided to cover it very quickly here. This list is really, really strong into the meta for a few reasons. Head and shoulders above most of those are Super Scroll and Mobius and Mobius. Mobius answers just a ton of problems in the meta right now. If you're sick of losing to discard, add Mobius to your list. If you're sick of losing to mill, Mobius does a great job at solving that problem. There's a bunch of stuff like that Mobius is great for. And Super Scroll is amazing if you're running into Affliction, if you're running into any Iron Man nonsense. You just play a Super Scroll and all of a sudden they are in trouble. Outside of that, the list is super straightforward, right? Sam Wilson gives you an extra one drop ongoing on the board and is an ongoing himself. So Sam Capper here, they work amazingly with Doom 2099 directing where Doombots go, and both Doctor Doom and Spectrum can basically be whole board buffs on the last turn. You can find me right here at youtube.com/@snapjudgmentspod. Once more, hit that sub. This deck needs Doom 2099 and Sam Wilson. Mobius can be Luke Cage. Galacta Iron Lad can be Galacta, Red Guardian, Sandman, or Rogue. Iron Lad is best here, but not necessary. 110 games, 68% win rate at high infinite, or at least as of yesterday. Turn 1, Ant-Man. Turn 2, Psylocke, if Doom 2099. If not, you want to play Sam or Dazzler. Turn 3 is Doom 2099, or is better than Iron Lad if you played Psylocke. If not, you're going to drop Steve Rogers, and then you're going to drop Mobius if your opponent is playing a deck where Mobius obviously rolls them. Turn 4, you have Doom 2099 over Iron Lad over Super Scroll. Turn 5 is Blue Marvel over a 4, although there's games where Super Scroll just takes precedence. And then turn 6 is Doctor Doom or Spectrum, and make sure you count so you know how much power you're adding with either. If you're getting 2099 out on turn 3 and they're not junking you up, Classic Doom is usually more power. But if you ended up playing the Sam Wilson into Captain America Steve Rogers into Doom 2099, then Spectrum is often more power. So please do count and make sure how much power you're going to be putting down. Cool. This list is really strong and really cool, and I'm very, very happy to see so many people succeeding with it. Hopefully you, dear viewer, will too. If you'd like to check out gameplay for all these lists and more, please check out the stream team. 12 p.m. Eastern, obviously not the General Ross deck, but the other decks Prashant will be playing at 12 p.m. Eastern on his stream. Check him out. And we're finishing up with a top 10 deck. Our friend Desmond from Korea is back with yet another top 10 deck. This is an awesome list that he used several lists, but this was the main one he used to climb. He's currently ranked 7 in the world with this very list. You can find Desmond at youtube.com/@DesmondKorea. This deck needs Victoria Hand, Wiccan, and Kate Bishop. Galacta can unfortunately only be other high series cards, Anti-Venom or Gwenpool. Iron Patriot or Valentina can be Mariah Hill and Mirage. Mirage is the first replacement I'd make there. Mobius, Red Guardian, Rocket Groot, Juggernaut, Negasonic Rogue, and Goliath can be Magneto. I don't know why it says good Taurus list. Ignore that. Turn 1, Quicksilver. Turn 2, Psylocke if Galacta or Wiccan. Kate if no 3, Iron Patriot otherwise. Turn 3, Wiccan over Galacta, over Mobius or Rocket Groot, and you have to decide if Mobius is going to win you the game again. Turn 4, Wiccan and over Galacta. Turn 5, generate cards to play, or if you generated cards earlier, you're going to play generated cards so you can Goliath. Turn 6, Goliath in hand, or a bunch of generated stuff in hand. That's it. The list is super straightforward, puts out a ton of power. Basically, what we're saying is Wiccan is really, really big, right? Wiccan gives you the ability to play a ton of cards. We've got Hawkeye, Iron Patriot, Valentina as our cards to play, generated cards to play. They're all going to have +2 power from Victoria Hand. Galacta is going to be a buff. Rocket and Groot is going to help control where opponents play and guarantee you prio for Goliath or your Iron Patriot win. And then Red Guardian and Mobius are your tech cards. So this list is a one where everything works together and it is so incredibly strong. I urge you to give this one a try as well if you can. Combining like 3 different lists into one, this one's a beaut. Questions of the day, and then we'll be on our way. We might have a second video later today. It's hard to say. All right. Thrillo asks why pre-infinite feels like much more of a grind. And I think I know the answer because it felt like much more of a grind for me too. Bots are no longer consistently giving 8. They seem to be set to manage to throw prio at the end of turn 5 and thus be able to retreat on turn 5. So you're getting 4 instead of 8 a lot more often, which really slows the grind down. In addition, there seem to be some other bots that are just playing more human-like and more human-like decks, and they're being placed into like alliances, like real players' alliances, even though they're not technically in the alliance if you check the alliance list. So these bots are like really solid players. You're still probably beating them, but it's much closer. You're less likely to snap. You're less likely to get big cubes from them. The bots that have been feeding the economy are down, and thus I think that the pre-infinite climb has seemed a lot harder for a lot of people. Oh, the other reason, I have one more reason that's more personal, and maybe I'm wrong. You can tell me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of decks that put out surprising amounts of power, uh, and just you can't really predict. And by those, I mean the generation decks, anything that's running Victoria Hand, Iron Patriot lists, where if they get Iron Patriot, you can't really choose how to effectively snap and retreat because they can have one of like 130 cards, and that makes it really, really complicated what you do if they win that Iron Patriot and the discard list. And like you know that if they play Bullseye and X card, they're going to put out a lot of power, but figuring out exactly how much power that is almost impossible. And those three decks being really prominent make it a lot harder in the game to figure out how to effectively snap and retreat into them. And I think that, and Arisham's back, and obviously the same is true of Arisham. So all of those being the case make it very complicated to really climb effectively in a way that that works for people. Now, that said, I finished top 100 2 seasons ago and around rank 250 last season. I'm not even pretending to climb. I'm playing such crap this season. I'm going on vacation next week and I'm going to lose rank then. So I'm just going to finish where I finish. So I had infinite and I'm not going to worry about rank after that this season. I'm just going to play loose and have fun. Lee asks what card should be in Spotlights of General Ross. I think Red Hulk is a major loss. Red Hulk should have either been in the season pass or in this week's Spotlights, along with Surtur and Cull. Those are the easy ones to me. I know it's soon to Surtur, but it would be such a nice show of good faith if they threw Surtur and Red Hulk in there, or Surtur and Cull in there, or Red Hulk and Cull in there. I think that those are the cards that we really want to play with this. Throwing cards that don't have 10 power in a deck with Ross is a little bit frustrating. So that's where I land on those. Certain tiered support on our Patreon come with honor. Thanks. We have a Patreon where $2 support not only shows love for the show at like 3 cents a video, 0.03 cents a video, something silly. It also allows you to play in all of our tournaments. The $10 tier of support comes with honor. Thanks every single video. We're going to say thank you to first Ocularis, our patron of the month, who won the Subathon award for a special announcement. Thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, It Regardless, LAB, Inc., I Am Frostman, Hota Navarrete, Thinking Poker, Primed Ryan, who's sponsoring Snap Judgments League Season 5. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, The Ryans, Ryan Town, Kier Tix Lee, Koire Kazuchi, and Archangel 3K, K-Town, not K-Pop, K-Town, Black Dahlia, Perforos, The Goat Seeker, Hallowed, Nightmare, welcome aboard Nightmare, Only Fox, and Synth. Fat Nick, Dirty Casual. What's up, Dirty Casual? Great game on stream from Dirty Casual the other day that we watched from tournaments. Mr. Kerfuffle, Gables, Ginger Prime. What's up, Ginge? Philip Rakovich, Rakgo, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, Extra and Skippy G, Jessica Gamble, hi Jess, Mr. Slush Death, who won September League Season 1, The King of Bros, Bro, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kevsy Hoda, Luna Chris, Clam, and Colonel Forbin, Rob Silverman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Stephen, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., and Mr. Craig, Sterry, Matt V. Real Name Town is done there. Woo. Ren Wrench splits up Real Name Town and Corwin, John Q, and Jimmy McHugh Q Town. Yes Stout, Ace Sage, One Big Man, Milkman for Reals, Cactus Jack, our favorite Mick Foley, BG Quid Pro Joe, who I guess could be in quote Q-Town, but doesn't feel right. Snap Decisions Joe, he chills with Snap Decisions Joe. Models, Mod Supreme, The Green Goblin, Unibot, UD, Flan 56, Lee, Fisher Dunlop, Spectrumix, Hoot, MBTB, Shannon, Matt H. What's up, Matt? DJ, Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Nick the Greek Geek, what's up, Nick? Zodrex, the King of Canada, 10 Man Falcon, Father Newman, Jonesy, Two Ties, the Great Lord Evs, the Pirate King Tucker, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. Peace out, y'all. I might be back later, either later or first thing tomorrow. We're going to have a video going over the data mines that are going to come out with this patch. I'm going to try and get you some mastery videos. We're going to have a crazy amount of videos this week. Get hyped. Be here for them. Peace.